All right, welcome back to another episode of Across the Line. We are back this week. Mason and we're going to get into some TGL updates, a little bit of Pebble. Haven't watched a ton, but it's a pretty solid leaderboard. And then we'll do a couple more of the games. We'll go with the Would You Rather and Guess the Player, which were super fun last time. And then kind of a throwback to last year, what we were doing a lot with the podcast is keeping it instructional. So I got my guy, Brandon Perrone, who's one of my subscribers on Skillist. We kind of took a little bit of a break when he was busy with work and some hockey, and he's had some more time to practice. So we've gotten back on the subscription, and he's made some pretty sweet changes in his golf swing, which I'm excited to take a look at. But we'll start off with the TGL. Again, I didn't watch a ton of it. I saw like some highlights and stuff. It seemed way better. And then just listening to my dad's business partner, his son and all of his friends are in town, and that's kind of the group of guys that's like, they're all really close to scratch, pretty solid golfers. And all of them were pretty jacked up about it, which tells me that the general golf population and golf viewership was a lot more favorable with this one. So clearly heading in the right direction, but I think you have a little bit more insight, so I'll let you take from there.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a good time watching. I guess that was the fourth TGL, I believe, at this point. And it was great. Tiger and Rory were on, so that was kind of the big one that they wanted to get prepped for. And it makes a lot of sense. They wanted to, test the waters a little bit with the technology, see how, it kind of caught on. And it makes a lot of sense kind of looking back on it as to why Tiger and Rory were the fourth week, I believe. It was great. It was the first one that was not a blowout. And so it was fun to watch one that actually kind of came down to the line. And it got really exciting at the end. Tom Kim hit a really good bunker shot at the end, and Keegan had a chance to win it from like 12 or 15 feet, and it just singed the hole. So I believe they tied at 3 points, and they went to extra holes, which was really cool. They hit to the actual like green. They put tee markers out from like maybe 40 yards. I think it was 37 yards, but it was back to like a back tier, and it was 3v3 closest to the pin, basically.
Oh, that's
It's like a shootout in hockey, basically, essentially. No putting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was cool, I thought. The bummer was
did they like add up the distance for each of them, or was it just whoever got the closest, that team?
whoever got the closest. So it was like a shootout in hockey.
Okay.
And so what happened was, they had the tee marker out at 37 yards. It's to the back kind of pin. The green isn't like perfectly receptive to like shots at that distance because it's a little spongy in some areas, and then like you might land it in the slope. I forgot who it was. Maybe Adam Scott. I don't think it was Adam Scott. It was one of the guys that went first, hit it, and it was a pretty good shot. And it looked like it kind of landed in the slope and died and rolled back down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it was great. The bummer was it didn't go to the last shot, which would have been Tiger versus Rory for all the marbles. I forgot who it was, but Team Jupiter, I think, got the 2 points, and so it didn't come down to the final one.
Okay.
And that was Jupiter's first win. They got smoked in the first one, but it was really fun to watch. I've had a good time, on Monday and Tuesday nights watching it, and it was the first time it wasn't a blowout, which
Sure.
was really exciting. And from what I've heard, they've been getting quite good viewership. They've been getting like 1 million plus, people to watch. And I think it's shifted to Monday nights because Monday Night Football, isn't around anymore for the rest of the season. So it's been fun to watch.
Do they, when they calculate the viewership, are they just going based off of cable, or are they also taking into account like streaming?
I would assume streaming
those numbers.
Yeah, I mean the numbers are pretty massive. I'm sure it accounts for all of that.
Sure.
I know for the actual like viewership being in the stadium, the tickets are like exceedingly expensive. Like it's even hard to get a ticket just because there's only like 500 people there, and a couple of them are boxes for like the owners of the teams that are there.
Sure.
And so I've really enjoyed it. I'm a little bit biased in some regard, to liking it, but I think it's been well received so far. I think there was a lot of speculation as to whether, would the technology work? I was really worried about that. And I know we talked about that last time, but I think it's been fun. I think it's a good way. A lot of it is, trying to get the really good guys on the PGA Tour to not go live. It's another way for guys to, make money, and I think it's been really cool for sure.
Yeah, it seems almost like a way to join it back up as well. Like I saw something with Bryson getting asked about it, and Bryson was like, "Oh yeah, we got Team Crushers. Like if they deliver, like I'm ready to come in and play." And I guess when I think about it, right, they have the Strategic Sports Group now.
Yes.
So is that running the TGL, or is it it's like affiliated with the PGA Tour? Because I feel like that's where the difficulty comes in. Is the PGA wants to say separate, but if the strategic sports group with all those huge business owners and
Right.
guys that are trying to make money are saying like, oh, we're running the TGL, yeah, let's bring Live in and make it almost like a PGA versus Live type deal too. Like that sounds really interesting.
That would be really interesting. I mean, when you think about the composition of a live team, it's like what, 3 or 4 guys on a team,
Yeah, it's
right?
like
So like a lot of the TGL teams are 3 or 4 guys. It's really cool. It's like a gamified version of golf indoors, obviously, but it has some like live aspects now that you made that mention. Team golf. I guess live teams aren't necessarily owned, at least to my understanding, but it's really cool. And to have a lot, like you said, a lot of the incredibly smart like businessmen in on it, and strategic sports group, Fenway Sports Group in as well is
yeah,
really cool. So
for sure. I think it's got. They can keep making it better. I think it has a little bit of juice to it.
absolutely.
We'll move over to, if we want to call it the real golf, Pebble this week. I've seen bits and pieces. The weather has been kind of all over the place, but it's turned into a pretty sweet leaderboard that, I mean, if you don't want to watch Rory, Lowry, Justin Rose, Tom Kim, I mean, it's a little bit top heavy.
Scotty in there too.
Yeah, Scotty sneaking around. If you don't want to watch those guys come down the stretch at Pebble, then I don't know how much
You
of a
just
golf
don't like
fan you
golf in
are.
general,
That's
obviously.
what I think. I've been tuned out, but with this, I'll definitely put it on tomorrow. Trying to look for some Longhorn boys. Spieth struggling. I think he was down. Our guy Wyndham Clark down.
Hostler's also there.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we were talking about it before we came on. It's like the weather has looked so bad, and like Rory at 6 under today, Shane Lowry at 6 under today. Like, I mean, the winner's probably going to get to about 20, depending on the
Yeah,
weather tomorrow.
exactly.
These guys just tear it up.
It's crazy. I was watching a little bit, before we're filming this podcast, and I was sitting in front of the TV and just seeing the flag sticks, blowing over sideways. It looked like, and
Yeah.
looking at a lot of these guys, like Rory at 6, Shane Lowry at 6. Like, there's so many red numbers out there, and so few on the contrary that are totally blown up. Usually on the days that are like that weather wise, you see a lot of guys that have just mailed it in because they're in 4 from DFL, and they're just trying to get in. But there are definitely some interesting shots out there. I mean, like some of the wind, crosswind, you don't catch it quite solid, and it goes off the planet left or right. So there's
Yeah.
definitely some of that, but despite that, the scores are exceedingly low.
Yeah. Do you see this tee shot that Rory just hit? 346.
Insane. Insane. He took a line yesterday on 14, and I hadn't watched too much of it, but I was watching the highlights. And 14 yesterday, I mean, the thing, it was insane. It looked like when he hit it, I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's got to be out of bounds. Like, it has to be. And I knew the hole was a dog leg right, but I didn't know you could cut the corner to that extent.
I mean, he's taking that over the house, like straight over the trees that are right in front.
Yeah,
There.
exactly.
That
And
is
it had fade on it too. Like it was
Oh,
moving right.
I didn't even know he eagle 18 yesterday. He hit unreal
My
tee
gosh.
shot too.
It looked like Scheffler hit one, and then he had a hole in one the first day too.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
It looked like Scheffler yesterday hit it down onto the rocks on 18, and today it was at today.
I saw that picture. Yeah,
It was crazy. Hit a good shot out too.
out, made par.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
good.
solid.
That's what good players do.
Yeah, I mean, Lowry and like Rose, like those guys make a ton of sense being up there in this bad weather. I mean,
For
they're
sure.
built for that. I could see like a sneaky Sepp Straka coming
Yeah.
in. I don't know, what if you had to make a pick? What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to bet against Rory coming down the stretch. I mean, well, we've seen a few instances where he hasn't been able to, close the deal, but
Not a major though.
yeah, exactly. That's true. That's an important consideration there.
Yeah.
I mean, Scotty's going to be 4 or 5 back. That's pretty far to come back, especially when you have Rory up there. But I mean, it's hard not to put my money on Rory. What do you think?
I think so too. I have like pretty much the same dilemma as you. Is like I love Rory, but I never think of him as getting it done. But it is a regular PGA Tour event. Rose has been like a complete resurgence in his career, and Lowry's
Really?
too. I mean, since you took Rory, I'll say that Rose makes a run and gets him in the end. But
I like
I
that pick.
think I kind of agree with you, to be honest. But
You know,
I'll switch it up.
yeah, on the topic of, terrible weather and golf and terrible weather, what are some strategies that you think are essential on, really bad weather days? Like when you're looking at, the weather and you just know the second round is going to be atrocious weather. Like what are
Yeah.
some of the important things that you think, because those are really important rounds. Like if you put up a good number, like
Mhm.
you can jump up a leaderboard like crazy. So what are things over your, career you found have really helped you or potentially even hurt you?
I mean, funny enough, I actually last week had my tournament, was hit, golf swing felt horrendous. But the first day it was it was 55 degrees all day, raining, drizzling on and off the entire day, and it was blowing like 15. So it
Wow.
felt like 45 degrees with the rain and the wind. And I ended up shooting 2 over. I was even for a while and bogeyed a couple coming in, but and it took 6 hours,
Oh
6:05.
my gosh.
Yeah, it was
Brutal.
it was it was brutal. Um, but I never really like go in with a crazy different mindset. But the interesting thing with those days is I feel like it like forces you to take one shot at a time. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you always want that, but if you got 75 degrees sunny with no wind on an easy golf course, it's really difficult to not be like, shit, like I got to shoot like 500-600 today. Like everybody's
Right.
gonna take it super deep versus the days where it's tough. It's like, okay, it's just like get it in play and I'm going to go hit the next one. And like, if I got it, like I'm going to have to get up and down a bunch. Like I think I hit like 6 green. Like I was all over
Yeah.
the course, but I was just grinding, making a bunch of putts. But general stuff, obviously when it's windy, with the wind and rain combo, I like a little choke up and a little bit further back in the stance just to
Yep.
like automatically hit the ball a little bit lower and try to get it on the ground quicker. And then teeing the driver low,
Yep.
big thing of mine too, because that helps me keep it in play and out of the wind when it's blowing a little bit. Um, and then also just really focusing on where you want to miss, right? Like kind of like I said before, when it's perfect weather, you kind of fire at pins and whatnot. But if it's blowing 15 off the right and the wind's tucked on the left side, and it's like, okay, like short right, I can easily make par. But if I get going left over there, like it's an auto bogey, it forces you to play kind of like aggressive to conservative targets is the mindset that and the saying that my coach always said, which I really like. So it's more just about like, okay, like let's hit this one, let's go get the next one, and just keep
Yep.
it in front of you type deal.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about
I
you?
couldn't, I couldn't agree more. I think what you mentioned about where to miss is really important. Avoiding short side. If you miss short side downwind, say the pins, on the left and you tug it and the wind doesn't hit it enough and you're in deep rough short side. I mean, you just with that shot you basically gave a shot back. And you don't want to be over a ball thinking, okay, I can fan this right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm looking to fan this ball right. You still are looking to put a positive move on it. But the way you adjust your targets, like in that instance, you might aim closer to the flag and just accept the win, might blow it to the right center part of the green. You're going to take your 40 footer and get out of there. I
Yeah.
think, you have to understand that pars are really, really good in the wind and the rain, and understand that a lot of instances, like the people you're playing against, there's going to be a lot that mail it in. So, the need to grind is always there in golf, but especially on days like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you make a really good point on, the example that I think of is Tucson National, which we both played out in college.
Oh.
That course, with no wind, like you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got to shoot
Too.
67 to
Yeah.
even be around.
Yeah.
And mentally, it was like I felt like in some instances more difficult because you were hitting into 20 feet all day, but you felt like you're putting a lot of pressure on your putts to like roll them in and make a lot of birdies.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of times when you feel like the course is kind of coming to you, like you said, take it one shot at a time, and you have to grind, like it forces you to do that. Sometimes you like stumble into a great round. Like I know my best round I played in college was in like 40-mile-an-hour winds, and I shot 66 at Pasatiempo.
Mm-hmm.
I got off the 18th hole and I was like, whoa, what just happened?
Tiempo.
Pasatiempo. But I think those are all really good points, and I think the importance of hitting the ball really solid is
Mhm.
is there too. Any mishit is just exemplified.
Yeah.
Um, but being smart and being strategic is all the more important when the wind is going crazy.
Yeah. I really, the point you made about like over the ball, thinking about like, you don't want to be thinking, oh, I can flare this right. You never want to like adjust where you're hitting it after you've already gone through your routine. go through your routine and pick your target conservatively and then swing very aggressive to that. You don't want to be saying, okay, the wind's off the left, I'll aim a little bit left of the pin, like, oh shit, like actually I need to miss this right, left is really bad, and then all of a sudden like, you're not actually focused on what you're trying to do. So I think that's a really, really good point there. Would you rather, or guess the player first? Let's save guess the player.
Oh gosh. Yeah, let's do would you rather first. I'm curious to hear the one you came up with.
Do you have one or no?
I didn't prepare one this time. We did a few last time.
All right. If you want to fly one on the spot, you can, but I like this one. I came up with it like 5 minutes before. Okay. Would you rather win the career Grand Slam but never win another event? You got every single major. Right. Or break the all-time PGA Tour win record, but you only win one major, and that major is the PGA Championship.
Wow, it's such an interesting one. That was not one that I was expecting.
Pretty detailed.
It is good. I mean, when I heard career Grand Slam, I was thinking, like, what could be the alternative to that? Like, how does it get any better than that? But I mean, winning, what would it be? Like 83 plus times? I think that's what the record was, or maybe 84 with Tiger. It's in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about how like many years you need to sustain that level of golf to do that. Even if you win like 7 times, you have to do that for 12 years to be able to, do that. That's insane. Yeah. So
like Grand Slam, there's what is Tiger? Who else? Tiger, Jack, Arnie.
I mean, maybe. I honestly don't know. It's a extremely select few. I think it's less than 5 or 6, for sure. There has to be. You should definitely look that up. I'm curious to know like what the names are.
Maybe, or did he not even get there?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the play. Like he won like 9 majors or something, so he very well could be on the list.
We're missing a big one. Gene Saracen, which I wouldn't have told you.
Yeah.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Should have had that one. Gary Player did get it. Jack and Tiger. That's it.
Yeah.
No, what did Arnie miss? He had a Masters.
He definitely had a Masters.
What did he not win? Never won the PGA. You might as well.
Oh man, yeah. we talk so down on the PGA on this podcast. It's funny, but I don't know. That's such a tough one. I mean, it's hard for me to sit here and. I mean, I don't know. I would still take the career Grand Slam. Like that's such a iconic thing to be able to say you've won a Masters and your game has traveled over continent and won the Open and everything.
For sure. So like both of them imply that you have really. Well, actually, but you never win another PGA event. So, but obviously you have to be a really good golfer. But the thing with taking into account breaking the all-time PGA Tour win record, but only having one major, your career is defined by how did you not win more of those things?
Yeah, it's true.
You're looked at as a very much underachiever. So I agree.
Yeah, that's a tough one though. I feel like some of the would you rather's that we come up with are so it's just hard to value. It's like such a personal career Grand Slam. There's no right or wrong answer, and so it's difficult.
I think it's tough to turn that one down for sure. Okay. Do you want to guess the play? What did we do last time? You guessed first.
I think I guessed first, right? I believe.
So I'll guess first this time.
Okay, perfect. I'm looking at it
still.
Say what?
You want me to share it still?
Oh yeah, do that, please. That would help.
Yeah, I got that. And then what's your guys? I'm gonna put his current on the main page. All right, let's get it going. You want to get a timer?
Yeah, I can see it in the bottom left corner. So you're good to go. Tell me when you want to start.
Okay, start now. Okay, clearly he's an American. He's got 6 wins but no majors, and he's pretty good right now. And he's been around for a while. How old is this guy? Like over 35?
He's right around that age. He's about 35.
About 35 years old. So that takes out some ideas. Ryder Cup and President's Cup. What's the best part of his game?
Definitely known for hitting it like really long off the tee. Like can generate some crazy ball speed.
Is he on Live right now?
PGA Tour.
So he never went to Live. Crazy ball speed. So like Bryson's out, and Bryson has majors, so that's dumb. That many President's Cup and Ryder Cups. Not Dustin, because Dustin's on Live. Do you know where he went to college? Is that a crazy?
I don't think. Okay, this might help. I don't think he went to school. I don't think he went to college.
Didn't go to school. Hits it mad far. Played in that many. Not Wyndham.
Nope.
No. Wyndham went to school. But he does have crazy ball speed. I'm thinking no, and Wyndham's young.
I'll give you a hint in like 10 seconds.
Who's an older dude that pumps it? Oh, no, he's not ninth right now. That's where my dilemma comes in. Give me another hint.
He hits it exceedingly far, but his swing is very short.
Not Rom.
Nope. Close. Similar swing length to Rom.
Finau?
Yes, you got it. Literally right at the end. Right at the end. Good work.
How old is Finau?
He's like 30. He was born in 89. So he's like 30, 35.
Right,
36. Yeah, crazy.
I always think of him as younger.
Yeah, I know. Do you remember he was on Big Break? Do you ever used to watch Big Break?
I used to watch that all the time with my parents.
Yeah. He was on one of the first one. He may have been on the first one actually. But yeah. Yeah, that bottom stat was incorrect. That was from last week's Tour. But
I mean, that's a good career.
That is a very good career. He's done very well for himself, that's for sure.
Okay. Where were you looking at the timer on the screen?
Bottom left. It might be because I'm the host. It says 20. It says like the time. Okay.
Put a timer on for you.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
I'm curious about this one.
Okay. Start. Okay, I'm looking at it. Events played 370, so he's probably in his late 30s. One major, one President's Cup, one Ryder Cup, 3 wins, number 8th and 33rd. Okay. I think I'm ready. Go ahead. PG obviously on the PGA Tour because he has a pretty high current OWGR, right?
Yep. Yeah, no live.
How old is he? Is he over 35?
Your guess was good, yeah.
Like late 30s, give
late
or take?
30s, I don't think 40.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
3 wins, got to number 8 in the world. I'm thinking somebody that's like has had a very like good long career, obviously hasn't won a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Only 3 wins. One of them is a major. Late 30s. Is he an American?
Yes.
American, late 30s. One President's Cup, one Ryder Cup. He's an American. 370 events. I'm thinking somebody that had a career similar to like Charles Howell, but not obviously Charles Howell.
Different, hits it short.
Hits it short.
Very short.
Is he a big guy or is he a small guy?
Small. You can throw him
like known for being small?
Yeah, known to be thrown around.
Thrown around. Okay, one major. Was the major within the last like 3 years?
Recently, yep.
Okay, I think I know who it is.
Go. I
think it's Brian Harman.
Yeah, Brian Harman.
There we go.
Brian Harman with the first pick.
I can't believe that he's won 3 times. I don't even know where the other 2 wins came from.
It was the John Deere.
Okay, makes sense.
And then Rocket Mortgage, I think, was the other one.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I had it up. But my other hints.
Wow, $39 million.
Was Sea Island guy, and I've given him bug spray on the range before.
That's a fun fact on that.
Because it gets on that back range by the ocean.
Oh my gosh.
It gets like nasty. And I was dousing myself and he came over.
So when you were in Sea Island a lot, like who were some of the other tour guys that you would see frequently? Because so many guys, I don't know as much about like now, but I know a lot of guys based themselves out of Sea Island for a long time. I mean, it's incredible practice facilities.
Yeah, they honestly weren't. I mean, they travel so much, but Harman was around a bit. It was cool seeing him hanging around after the British Open win.
That's cool.
Random. He won by like 12, didn't he? That was random thing. Patton Kazire was around a ton. Hudson Swafford a little bit. Davis Love. Bunch of Georgia. Davis Love was like the main dude there.
I saw Zach Johnson there. I don't know if he
he's around a little bit.
He was out there,
He's around a little bit for sure. But Kazire, out of everybody that I met or hung around, was like the best dude for sure.
Yeah,
always like asking questions, talking. And he worked out with Randy Myers a bunch. So like whenever
Oh,
I was there, he was, and if he was in town, he was in there warming up or whatever it is.
that's awesome. It's so good to be around like great players like that.
Yeah.
We saw it in college being around, Pearson and Cole, Travis, Parker, yourself and everybody, like being around like good players is such a good way to, you just get better through osmosis. You do chip
And it's just fun. You have more like games. Yeah, exactly. There's competition all the time. It makes it much more enjoyable.
Yeah, and you also know where you're at too. You also know what you need to work on. Like it's really clear. I feel like it's really clear in college golf to know where you're deficient compared to others.
For sure.
It didn't take me much time to know that I needed to drive the ball a lot better when I got to school.
Yeah.
I realized like my short game was definitely like one of my strengths. And, like I'm sure you found something very similar to that like pretty early on.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to work my driving a lot more if I wanted to play good golf.
Well, especially at UT. I think there's a balance there because you can definitely get caught up in overdoing it, trying to like take parts from other guys' games and like realize, okay, like I probably will never be as good of a driver of the golf ball as Pearson.
Right.
Like,
that's a good point.
Focusing on your strengths, but also obviously taking bits and pieces. Like I feel like early on I got too caught up in like how good they were in certain areas, and then it gets you a little, but 100%, right? Like seeing how good Pearson hits his irons and driver and how good Cole and Parker are from like inside 150. It's like, okay, no, it's like those wedges, like those need to, that was kind of my thing with short irons. Right when I got there, I was like, I can definitely improve.
Yes,
here.
absolutely.
It's hitting inside 10 feet every time. It's absurd. Okay. Let's get my guy Brandon up. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm excited to see the evolution.
Unreal work. So we've been working on somewhat similar stuff from when we first did. I kind of mentioned it in the intro, but we worked together for a while over the summer when he was playing a bunch, and then he got busy. Now we're back on the subscription with him doing some indoor stuff, but we're working on some similar things. So the main part of it we've been grinding on is his trail elbow. So you'll see in this bottom one, this is from a couple months ago. So he's made a bunch of changes, but his trail elbow kind of chicken wings and flares and gets back behind him. For him, it's his left arm. And then on the way down, then he gets jammed up and stuck, and you'll kind of notice his body has to slow down and dip back, and his hands have to catch up. So we'll go through that. This bottom one is that one. He's wearing pretty much the same outfit, but you can see the club rolls inside a little, and you can already see like his forearms are starting to get pretty separated from one another early into the golf swing. Wide triangle at the top, right? Like this elbow is a little bit flared behind him. Other than that, pretty solid. Decent plane on the way down, but you can see in that frame that trail elbow is jammed up, really jammed up. And then he kind of has to slow his body down in order for his arms to catch up as he goes through the golf ball. You ready for this transformation? So good. So we've been doing he actually came up with making a bunch of cross-handed rehearsals, right? Because when you have it normal, it's easy for this top one to kind of get going up like this. But when you cross-hand it, it's like this thing has to be down, tucked in front of you. And we worked on like a bunch of other drills and feels, but takeaway's way better.
Wow.
And then that top position, I mean,
that's night and day different.
And that thing's tucked in front of him. And then he wants to hit a fade. So I want to get him a touch shallower than we are right here. But if you're trying to hit a fade from there, that's pretty dang good. And then you'll be able to notice he gets through the ball a ton better, in my opinion, because the arms are there and in front of him as he goes through the ball. And then I'll bring in the face on. It's really easy to see from the face on as well. It's almost sometimes when you're working on trail elbow stuff, the face on is better.
I'm curious, were you talking with Brandon about like various misses he was seeing before and what he's seen after? What were the commonalities between, what was he doing before and what ball flight was that producing versus now? Like, has he seen a lot of improvements with what the ball is doing? For sure. So he likes to hit a little bit of a fade. And when that trail elbow and his arms get up and going behind him, and then they get stuck behind his body, a lot of the time it's for him as a lefty starting left and then kind of going that way. So it's a push fade for him, especially when those arms get behind, club face can get open, and then like you're trying to do it with your hands too much. For me, what I always try to work with my students on
like quote unquote, the philosophy is keeping it in front of you all the way back and having a really solid top position. And then from there, since they're already in front, you can just turn and burn, rotate your body, control the club face and everything that you're doing through rotation on the way through, so you don't have to have extra movement with like the smaller muscles, right? Like it's a lot easier to control everything with your core and your hips and your butt, honestly, like rotating through the golf ball, even your chest a little bit versus your arms and your hands trying to control that club face going. I mean, with a driver for some guys going 115 gets really difficult.
Absolutely.
Let me get this out of the way. The bottom one again is the before, right? So you can see once we get to the top, that arm is already kind of getting up. Like you can see a lot of that trail arm.
Exactly.
And then kind of crunches down into it. And you can see it's already jammed up behind his body there, jammed up. And then his body's got to slow down. You see him kind of tip back and a little bit of flip there.
Yes.
Right? And then with this top one now, so good. Like the amount of change that he's been able to make. And he's an athlete too, so he knows how to make the switches. But you can already see there that arm's starting to fold in front of him. The lead form is
other side. Exactly.
Yeah. And now there's no gap there. I mean, that's tour play level in my opinion.
That's a huge adjustment.
Now in those frames, it's already starting to get more down in front of his body, in front of his hip here. And then there's no stall. He has a lot more extension through the golf ball as he rotates on and through.
That's awesome.
So now, since it's more in front, he's noticed hitting the fade, it's a lot easier for him to start the ball for him to the right and get it to fade back to the left, since his arms are more in front versus when it was getting stuck behind. He could kind of get a two-way miss going, but mostly it was like kind of a swipey, weak fade with those arms stuck. But yeah, he's noticed it. There were some growing pains for sure. Like there were like a couple times we were trying to work on it and find different drills and feels, and like it wasn't resonating and going right. So like that stuff is always a process. Kind of what I always say to all my students that I work with is like, I can give you the drills and I can give you the options to get there, but ultimately like you're the player, and I could have one drill that works for 99 people in a row, but it might not work for you. Like we might have to find a different feel, a completely different way to frame it in order to get to the actual results, right? Like the feel and the reel is always crazy, crazy different. But we've done a good job kind of eliminating some drills that didn't work, and just focusing big time on the ones that did. And his swing looks,
I mean, it looks amazing. And I'm sure from a mental standpoint, it's freed him. I'm sure it's freed him up a lot to have the freedom to continue to rotate and like not worry about the ball starting for him to the left. Like he can kind of turn and burn, like you said, start the ball to the right and let it peel back into the fairway. Like that's a really good place to be from a mental standpoint. And, you know, I know that feeling when you kind of feel like your body needs to slow down. It's not a good one because, you know, it's you don't have any control of the start line. You kind of lose control of the face. And it kind of feels like you're already kind of trying to slap at it, try to save it, and just hope the face, you know, matches the path, or, you know, is good according to the path. And you make a really good point about what you're talking about, you know, as far as the feels and everything go. It's really interesting when I work with my coach. Like he is very good about asking me after we work on a new feel or a new move or new thought, whatever it is, about how does it resonate with you, right? You know, if I'm trying to keep the club face stronger in the backswing and not let it fly open, you know, he thinks about it like right hand on top of left. I think about it just naturally being a stronger club face.
Okay.
You know, or like keeping the eyes of the club, you know, the club face on the ball for longer.
Sure.
And, you know, so I don't really like the right hand on top feel, even though that will accomplish what I'm trying to do. It doesn't resonate in my mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, that just speaks to the point that you're talking about. Like, you know, the feel is really, really important as a player, because it might work, you know, when you're hitting into a simulator screen or hitting into a net or on the range. But, you know, there's a big, big difference between how, you know, everything works in your brain on the golf course. You know, we've talked about that quite a bit, but that's awesome. The swing looks amazing for Brennan, and, you know, y'all have been doing great work.
Yeah, he's been putting some work in. And that kind of to that point, right? Like taking it from the range versus golf course. Sometimes when you're on the range and you're like really focusing on the mechanics and forcing it, like that's a super extreme feel. You don't always want to take that out there. So like him focusing on his trail elbow a bunch in the simulator is great. But then when he gets on the golf course, maybe he plays better golf when it's just like, okay, smooth tempo on the way back or something super simple, or just focusing on the shot at hand, whatever. That's, again, a thing that's super individualized for guys. Because there's some, I mean, PGA Tour players that think about 5 different things in order to get where they
Right.
want. And there's other guys that think about one or nothing.
Nothing.
So
Exactly.
it's really about finding the recipe is what my coach always said. Finding the
For
right recipe for you.
For sure. And the last thing I would add on to that, and something that's helped me, in times where I'm like really working on my swing, because it's really easy to get like, looking at video all the time. You're taking a ton of videos. You're just trying to you feel like you're micromanaging too many parts of the swing. You're, playing aesthetics essentially,
Mm-hmm.
whereas, function is what really matters. And, obviously the way your swing looks is a factor into that formula. You have to be able to make a predictable motion and stabilize the path and club face to create good results. And, hitting certain positions help you do that. But for me, one thing that's really helped not get too far in that side of the spectrum is have a very clear intent on the range.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm out there, it's really important for me to not fall into I'm just going to try to make my swing look good.
For
I
sure.
have to go out there and say, okay, I'm going to hit this 7-iron. It's going to go 185 yards in the air, 100 feet in the, apex, and it's going to cut 5 yards starting at that pine tree out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like having a very clear, and sure, I can think about a mental thought or a feel that I'm trying to work on, but I don't want to lose what's happening out on the range, because that's what good results and good golf, come
Yeah.
from. It's what happens out there, not, you
Yeah.
don't get paid for how well you execute that swing move.
No, yeah, it's what the golf ball is doing. That's another thing that him and I did, right, was we were focusing so much on the mechanics, which you have to do when you're trying to make a swing change. But then once we got to a point where it was getting closer, he kind of came to me and was like, okay, like, especially with him being in the simulator, he's up north, can't go play. It's like, okay, how do I also mix some of this in? And then I showed him the TrackMan combine that you can do on the simulator. So it's like, okay, for if you have an hour in the sim, 15 minutes of just mechanics, do the drills that you like, use the training aids, and then do the combine for a little bit and hit some numbers. You can even go like play some holes on the simulator and then like close it off by doing the 9-window drill. The
Yeah,
low fade,
great.
low straight, low draw, medium, 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 high, high, high. And like that's always really good because then you can kind of make the mechanical changes that you want, but then translate it into, looking at the results and putting yourself more in a play golf mind frame instead of playing
Absolutely.
golf swing, right?
The 9-window drill is great. The combines are great. The 9-window drill is very difficult to do, I feel like, for me personally. Like
Mm-hmm.
Travis Vick, for example, when we do that game together and we're, in person practicing on the range, he can execute them like it's clockwork.
Yeah.
But for me, I struggle a little bit more with that. And I see a lot of tendencies. Like recently, my fades have been starting too far right. And
Mm-hmm.
my draws have been kind of like I've been really trying to work hard to start the ball right. And so I have some face stability issues that I need to clean up. But it makes it very clear as to what you need to work on
Yeah.
and what you're struggling with. And you can kind of see patterns. And also it increases your awareness. So if I go on the course and I have to hit a draw, or I want to hit a draw, I know I don't need to feel this crazy shallow move and get the club behind me. I can kind of just swing a little bit, knowing that my tendency is a little bit of a draw right now.
For sure.
And I don't have to work as hard. So it's just a great way to get aware and also be able to, in a more smart way, be able to make the changes that you need to make technically.
Yeah.
It tells you where you're at. So those are great, crossovers between taking the technique and being able to do it under pressure on the golf course.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And everybody does it so different. Like there's so many good players that swing the club crazy different and they feel a fade different versus a draw. It's a pretty wild game. It's not like a lot of others. It's so individualized. But it's fun. That's what makes it fun, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay, we'll close it out. We got a couple more things. Little Super Bowl talk.
Yeah. I don't know how I haven't really
It's
spent
like
much
checked
time thinking
out
about
after.
it. I've had a lot of football trauma as of late. The Lions losing, which was just brutal. And then, Texas losing and the Texans losing to the Chiefs. So I'm still recovering right now. I haven't been thinking about, the Super Bowl that much, but what's your take? You can probably kick us off here.
Well, I mean, funny enough, my girlfriend's a huge Lions fan as well. And we were watching it. My buddy Adam came over, and we are kind of like chatting a lot throughout. Like Carly's a big talker, so like she'll like chat around. We're talking a lot about some other stuff, whatever. Like even like she wasn't even fully onto the game, and kind of gets going. We're still talking, and then I think it was on a fourth down where y'all were driving like really close to the goal line and then got some really dumb penalty, like 12 men on the field or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Then when she saw that, it was like, oh gosh, like now I need to watch. And then from that point out, it was just
We were in you mean Carly are in a group chat, and we were talking about the game and everything, and it was right at the beginning of the game, and the kicker from the Commanders kicked it out of bounds, I think, on the first play, or maybe that was the Vikings. I can't remember. Regardless, whatever game it was, and it was just silence after the after the first play. That may have been the Vikings. I can't quite remember what game it was, but I just remember we were talking, quite a bit, texting back and forth, and then it just like once the game went the wrong direction, it was just silence, nothing.
Pretty quiet. Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels is real. And the injuries on defense for y'all hurt, but
that was brutal.
I really thought they were going to make it playable against the Eagles, and it just wasn't close. So that kind of stunk. And then I was rooting hard for the Bills. The group chat with my friends from Rochester, who are all huge Bills fans, it was really sad, honestly.
Yeah.
In the chat, like they're all like jacked up during the game and this and that, and then afterwards, it's like, dude, I can't do this another year. Like it's the same thing. Like there's so much pain, and it's like, I feel it. It's like, imagine pretty similarly the Lions now like doing what they're doing now for 4 or 5 years and like still not getting it done. Like you're always losing to Mahomes. It's like brutal. It is so brutal. And a couple of those calls here and there, like definitely were bad, right? Like I'm not in favor of what seemingly is a little bit of ref bias to the Chiefs, but at the same time, like the Bills had their chances. Like they had the ball. They could have driven down and scored. So that was sad. And then for the actual Super Bowl, like on paper, when I look at the roster, seems like, oh, the Eagles are going to win. But then, I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes, and he just does this all the time. So I don't even know what to root for. I'm against the Chiefs. I think they're obnoxious. And then I'm a Giants fan, so I hate.
Oh yeah, you're in a tough spot on that one.
Their fan base, man. Like I've seen some more videos coming out of them, like tormenting Commanders fans after the game. How am I supposed to root for them? But so I don't know. But if I had to do score prediction, I'll go 34-31 Chiefs.
Okay, so pretty high scoring. My question to you is: are the Chiefs going to be able to contain Saquon? I mean, he's been so good all year, so good in the playoffs. I mean, unbelievable in the playoffs. Can they stop him? I mean, it is Andy Reid. It is, a team that it always seemingly gets it done, even in close games. Like my question is like, how are they going to be able to stop Saquon from having 200 yards rushing?
I mean, it's all really about those pop plays for him. And obviously they happen so frequently, but it's like the rest of his runs aren't, it's not like he's like 7 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, 8 yards. It's like 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 50. Like
60, gone.
The crib.
Right.
And I think the Chiefs defense is solid enough to do it. Like, I feel like he'll pop one. Like I'd be surprised if he didn't get over 100. But it's if you can get enough stops, and then if Mahomes can take over and win the game. But the issue with Philly is even if you stop Saquon, you got Devontae Smith and then AJ Brown for wide receivers. So it's like they're crazy. But just it's like when Brady was in his prime, it's like you can't bet against him.
I know. I feel the same way. I don't want to feel that way. I think you made a really good prediction. I probably would have gone slightly low scoring if I guessed first and, had a blank sheet of paper. I probably would have said like 27-24 Chiefs. It's just like one of those things, like they've gotten it done all year in close games. How do you bet against them? But just for the fun of it, I'll take the other side. I'll say the Eagles are going to win 28-24. I'm going to say it's also going to be close.
Yeah.
But I just think that, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a good one. I'd be surprised if it's a blowout one way or another, but I could see either team pulling it out. It's not overwhelming, one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like in those games, it's like, okay, would I rather have Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes? And Hurts is good. I'm not hating on Hurts, but Mahomes just gets it done. And
he always does.
And we got Worthy. Right?
That's true.
You were like, that'd be cool if you got a bowl and like
that'd be awesome.
Bowl and stuff. We haven't had that crazy a great NFL players come from Texas recently. So
Yeah, that would be great. That would be really good.
yeah. All right, you want to close it out? Do you want to chat about this AI stuff going on right now? We
Oh
were
my
talking
gosh,
about it
crazy.
last week. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, you probably even know more about it than I do. I mean, you have a decent background in that sort of stuff, but the deep seek stuff, and then Nvidia and all the other AI tech stocks just going down a crazy amount, early in the week, and then rebounding, and just the volatility associated with those stocks like recently has just been insane to
Yeah,
watch. But it's been fun to kind of get in on the action a little bit too. So
for sure. I mean, like whenever something like that happens, especially with the AI craze right now, it's like the thing, right? And then something comes in and completely changes the market of everything. It's like, okay, everybody's panic. The other ones are done. Like that's not really what it is. And we talked about it. It kind of reminds me of like the space race with Russia
yeah,
back in the day, right? It's like you're like kind of countries competing to try to be the best and get there first. And that came like a week after Trump came out and was like, we're going to make America the AI capital of the world or
yeah,
whatever, that AI and crypto. So it's pretty crazy. And yeah, just the way that they were able to cut so much cost, which seemingly the figures are legitimate, right? Like at this point, if they were fabricating any of it, I feel like that would come out. And it's also open source, so they're being pretty transparent about everything. But it's all about the chips that they used compared to NVIDIA's are like way more, whatever you want to call it, high tech, and it takes way more energy to run those. So that's the way they were able to cut it. I think it was like $6 million
it's
compared
crazy.
to the minimum of the other ones, like are 100 million and
Yeah, right,
up,
and up. Yeah,
up.
up to billions, I think. Yeah,
So
crazy.
it's pretty wild, but I've already seen some stuff on Twitter. It's like really biased towards like China or something. Like
Oh wow.
there was a thing. I was texting Adam about it where it wouldn't talk about, and hopefully they don't come after me, but it wouldn't talk about Winnie the Pooh because like a few years back, people were making fun of Xi Jinping for like looking like Winnie the
Oh
Pooh.
my gosh.
It was
Wow.
like, I cannot talk about that matter or something like that.
Wow.
So
They already have all the stuff written, pro China in there. That's crazy. Wow.
yeah. So there's some bias,
That's
like
fun.
always. Yeah, and then there was
It's
another thing.
crazy.
Again, not to get like political or whatever, but somebody posted on Twitter, like repeat these phrases. Hello, I am DeepSeek. It repeated, sky is blue, sun is hot, sun is hot. And then it went, Taiwan is a country, and it responded, Taiwan is a part of China. So
Oh
it's
my
like
God. Wow.
there's some stuff in there,
Yeah.
which is gonna happen with all the programming, but that seems pretty blatant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you look at that stuff, it's like who knows like how much that was edited and all that, obviously, but like that's crazy. Could you imagine if it it's just insane to see this whole thing unfold.
Yeah, and that's where it can get a little scary, right? Is like however it's programmed, and then like I mean, you start treating it as people like you're trying to make a point in an argument, and then you Google it, and it's like, see here, I was right, and it's
Yeah.
like you're trying to make an argument that Taiwan is a part of China, and it's like, look, like I'm telling, like
Yeah. Crazy.
I is always correct, and whatever. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky. But nevertheless, it's entertaining to watch, and it's like the craziest technological advancement of my lifetime, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no kidding.
like historical stuff right now. So
Yeah.
it's
You
crazy.
make a good point on like the space race. It is like similar. So much of the U.S. economy is like predicated on like how big the AI boom really is.
Mm-hmm.
All of this stuff like equity markets going up a ton because they're counting on it. We have all of these other things out there that are you know obviously potentially not good for the economy. Some things that are good, but so much of it was like lifted up, and the tailwinds behind were pushed via AI. So it'll be interesting to follow, and obviously it has big implications for everybody in this country. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to watch.
cool stuff for sure. All right, I think that's all we got. You got anything else to close out?
I don't have anything else. This was fun. I'm glad we're getting back on the usual schedule.
Yeah,
We got to talk about some fun stuff today, and hopefully we can keep it rolling and keep it going.
for sure. Yeah, we'll be getting some guests in pretty soon, but we'll keep up with the games and whatnot. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you're listening, YouTube, Spotify, we got to get on Apple Podcasts too, so we'll work on that. But yeah, had fun, and we'll keep getting on a solid schedule with everything.